October 14 to 11 a.m. Something knocked from inside the red bedroom. 3 soft taps, then 3 more. I was standing in the upstairs hall with the owner's rule sheet in my hand and the key still taped to the back where she'd hidden it. Rule 7 said the room was to remain locked at all times. Rule 8 said if I heard knocking from inside it, I had already made a mistake. October 12. I took the job because it paid $400 a night and because the house was easy. Feed the dog, water 2 ferns, bring in packages if any show up. 3 nights only. The owner, Mara Voss, met me in the gravel drive at 5:40 p.m. She was already halfway into the driver's seat of a silver Volvo, talking too fast, like she was late for something she couldn't miss. The house sat at the edge of Blackwater Lake. Cedar siding, metal roof, big windows facing the water. Expensive, but not showy. She handed me a single sheet of paper, not typed, written in blue pen, numbered 1 through 10. Most of it was normal at first. Dog eats at 7. Thermostat stays at 68. Do not use the fireplace. Then it turned strange. Close all curtains by sunset, including upstairs. If the boathouse light comes on, do not look out from the back windows. If you hear someone on the porch after midnight, wait until they leave then. Never open the red bedroom. I laughed once. I thought she was trying to be dramatic about some private room. She didn't laugh back. She said, very flat, if the dog stands facing that door, call him away. Do not touch the knob. On the back of the page, taped near the bottom, there was a brass key. October 12, 9:18 p.m. The dog's name is Mercer. Old yellow lab, white around the muzzle. He moves slow until he hears food hit the bowl, then suddenly he's young again. The house has 3 bedrooms upstairs. The master overlooks the lake. A small guest room faces the road. The red bedroom sits at the end of the hall, opposite the linen closet. It is red, not just the door, the frame too. Old glossy paint, darker than fresh blood, cracked around the panels like dry enamel on a diner sign. The rest of the upstairs is white. White walls, white trim, pale runner rug. That door looks inserted from another house. I checked every lock before dark because the list had got under my skin. Front deadbolt, slider to the deck, mudroom, side garage entry, all good. At 6:57, I closed the curtains. Everyone. At 7:02, Mercer stopped chewing and looked up the stairs. He wasn't barking, he wasn't growling. He just held still with a strip of canned food hanging from his mouth and stared toward the 2nd floor. I called his name. Nothing. I had to clap twice before he blinked and came over. At 8:41, I found myself standing in the upstairs hall, reading Rule 7 again under the nightlight, with that red door at the far end, and something faint caught in the paint near the knob. Scratch marks, 4 of them, parallel. October 12, 11:56 p.m. There is a boathouse about 40 yards from the back deck. I noticed it when I arrived. Low roof, weathered boards, 1 yellow utility light over the door. The list said if that light came on, do not look out from the back windows. 11:31, the whole house gave a small electrical sigh. Refrigerator clicked. Hall vent changed pitch. Then Mercer lifted his head from the rug and whined through his nose. A thin yellow line appeared on the hardwood under the kitchen curtain. The Boathouse Light. I knew because there was no other way for that color to get in. Warm and narrow, a blade under the fabric. I made myself stay where I was. I even turned my back to the glass and washed a clean mug just to keep my hands busy. Outside, across the water, something bumped wood. Once, then again. Slow, hollow. Mercer backed into the corner between the island and the pantry and would not come out. The bumping stopped. A minute later, I heard wet footsteps on the deck boards behind me. Not many, 4 or 5, enough to cross from the stairs to the sliding door. They did not tap the glass. They just stood there. I could feel it through the room. Presence has weight when it wants to. When the refrigerator motor kicked on again, the yellow line under the curtain was gone. At midnight exactly, someone knocked once on the front porch. October 13, 8:10 a.m. Nothing was on the porch this morning. No footprints either, though the deck had dried in uneven patches as if shoes had stood there a long time. I nearly left. 400 a night stopped sounding generous around sunrise. Then I checked my phone. 1 bar. No service inside the house except near the upstairs bathroom. The weather app hung blank. The nearest motel was 30 minutes back the way I'd come. I told myself one more night was manageable. In daylight, the rules looked ridiculous again. I made coffee, fed Mercer, took him outside on the side yard because I didn't want him near the water. He relieved himself, then pulled hard toward the house and scratched at the door until I let him in. At 10:24, I decided to inspect the red bedroom lock, just to prove to myself it was ordinary. The brass key was gone from the back of the rule sheet. I thought maybe it had fallen. I searched the kitchen table, the counter, my duffel under the couch cushions. Nothing. Mercer was upstairs. I heard his collar tags click softly, then stop. When I reached the hall, he was sitting in front of the red bedroom, very straight, like a dog posing for a painting. The key was on the runner rug between his paws. I do not know how to explain that. Worse was the door. The knob was no longer still. It was turning a few degrees to the left, releasing, turning again. October 13, 2:18 a.m. I am writing this after the fact because my hands would not stop shaking before. I put the key in my pocket and went downstairs. I did not test the lock. I did not touch the knob. At 12:43 a.m., the knocking started, not downstairs, not the porch, inside the red bedroom. 3 light taps from the other side of the door, as if someone was using a fingernail instead of knuckles. I stood at the foot of the stairs with the paper in my hand and read Rule 8 for the first time since arriving. If you hear knocking from inside the red bedroom, you have already made a mistake. Unlock the door. Step aside. Do not look directly at what leaves. Keep Mercer downstairs. That was the whole rule. I don't remember deciding. I was just suddenly upstairs with my thumb under the tape-sticky bow of the key, Mercer whining below me. The knocking kept a patient rhythm. 3 taps, pause, 3 taps. I unlocked it. I stepped back against the wall and turned my face toward the stair rail. The door opened inward by itself, hinges quiet. Air moved past me first, cold and damp, carrying the smell of lake weeds and something sweet underneath. Rotting flowers, maybe. Then came a sound like heavy fabric dragging over carpet. Something passed within inches of my knees. It was tall enough that its shoulder, or what felt like a shoulder, brushed the wallpaper with a soft, grainy scrape. Mercer began screaming downstairs. October 13, 2:47 a.m. Mercer did not bark. He made a raw, continuous sound I have only heard from dogs at the vet when they know pain is coming. I ran down and found him under the dining table, front legs splayed, eyes fixed on the hall leading to the back deck. The curtains were moving inward in slow breaths, though every window was locked. Something crossed the living room. I never saw it whole. I saw parts where the lamp light caught them, a dark, wet hem trailing over oak floor. The outline of a hand too long in the fingers, touching the wall to guide itself. Water dots appearing one by one on the boards, not from above, but pressed out of fabric as it moved. It went toward the rear of the house, toward the sliding doors, toward the lake. I should have stayed there until morning. Instead, after the curtains settled and Mercer stopped making that noise, I went back upstairs and looked into the room I had opened. There was no bed, no dresser, no lamp. The room was empty except for a wooden chair set in the center facing the door, and on the chair was a child-sized red raincoat folded neatly in the seat. The closet door stood open. Inside the closet, nailed at eye level, was another sheet of paper in blue pen. Only one line. If she leaves the room, let her go to the water. Do not let her come back carrying anything. October 13, 4:26 a.m. The back deck door was open. I am sure I locked it. The bar was lifted. Cold air came in off the lake hard enough to move the calendar on the fridge. Mercer would not go near the opening. There were wet footprints on the deck boards. Bare, narrow, too long in the toes. They went down the steps toward the boathouse, then vanished on the gravel path where the ground turned dark with mist. I put on Mara's rubber boots from the mudroom because they were closest, and took the flashlight from the junk drawer. I don't know why. Maybe because the last note was worse than anything I'd seen. If she comes back carrying anything. The boathouse door was open 3 inches, yellow utility light on. Inside, the air smelled like algae and old rope. There was a flat-bottom boat on a cradle, 2 paddles on hooks, and black water slapping softly through the open launch bay. Something moved beyond the posts. Not swimming, standing. A figure half in the water, half out, draped in dark cloth that clung to it like pondweed. Its head was bent sideways. Both arms were wrapped around something against its chest. The flashlight beam slid lower. A wicker laundry basket, white towels inside, 1 small sock with blue stripes over the edge. Then I heard Mercer behind me in the doorway, growling low. The figure lifted its face toward the light. and I shut the boathouse door on its hand. October 14, 6:32 a.m. I jammed the boat hook through the boathouse handles and dragged Mercer back to the house. Something hit the other side of that door twice. Not hard, patient. I called Mara 13 times, went straight to voicemail every time. At 5:11, I finally got one text through. "Did your daughter drown there?" The reply came at 5:17. "I don't have a daughter. Keep the room locked." That is the last message I received because the basket is in the kitchen now. I did not bring it inside. It is sitting on the floor by the island, like water spreading under it in a clean oval. 3 folded towels, 1 blue-striped sock. Under the top towel, a brick from the old shore wall with green twine tied around it. Mercer is back upstairs. I can hear his tags, then silence, then his tags again. I am not going up there, but I know where he is. End of the hall, facing the red door. There is water dripping through the ceiling vent over the stove. It smells like the lake bottom when you pull up an anchor. Someone just touched the outside of my bedroom door. Not knocked, touched. 5 slow scratches. Mercer stopped moving. The hall floor is creaking under a weight that was not in this house a minute ago. If I hear the red bedroom open again, I am going out through the front window. It's outside this door now. Subscribe if you want to know what I find next.